Hush your mouth.
The Dolphins won an ugly one, pulling out a 16-13 victory over the New York Jets, a loss which nearly brought Rex Ryan to tears. Not that that's very new. The Dolphins produced the team's first fourth-quarter comeback of the season when they scored 10 points in that final quarter, taking a 16-13 lead on a Caleb Sturgis field goal in the final 2 minutes of the game. The victory puts Miami at 7-5 in the season and in possession of the final wild card spot heading into Sunday's 1 p.m. home game against the Baltimore Ravens. Miami presently in the driver's seat to make the playoffs. The question is, will they stay there?
Do you believe?
I do believe. I've said it for weeks. I do believe that the Dolphins will stay there.
You believe the Dolphins are a playoff team?
Yes, I do.
You believe the Dolphins are a 10-win team?
I do believe, though, that they have all the capabilities to totally let me down and prove me wrong.
See, you're waiting for the That's So Dolphins moment, which is what I wrote about in my column today. And if you ask me if I believe, I don't believe yet.
All right. At this point, you know who we are. I'm CBS 12's Matt Lincoln. He's Sentinel Dolphins columnist Omar Kelly. You are curious, Dolphins fans, nervous about Miami's playoff chances. As usual, we're going to take your questions on Twitter. All you need to do is ask them using the hashtag XOmar, or you can send us a video question on your phone. We're also looking for some challenges. We've got our referee right here, prepared and ready to issue a challenge on anything said in today's show. So if you disagree, make sure you use the hashtag XOmar and make sure you say that it's a challenge. So, Dolphin, I've answered the question. I think that they are a 10-win team, and I believe at this point that 10 wins is going to get them there. Omar, do you believe this is a 10-win team?
I wrote a column today. I think they are a 9-win team. I think it'll be a challenge for them. To get to 10 wins, you got to either beat the Ravens at home, which we all know is not going to be easy. Those matchups are very difficult with the Ravens. And then you've got to either beat the Patriots if you don't take care of it at home against the Ravens. And, of course, you got to sweep the Jets and beat Minnesota, which aren't going to be that drastically hard. But you've somehow got to find a way to beat the Ravens or beat the Patriots. Now, I personally think it's going to be easier to beat the Patriots in New England than it will be to beat the Ravens
I could not disagree anymore. I think the game at New England is the hardest game of the season for the Dolphins.
You already dominated them 2 straight times.
Oh, this is an entirely different New England team in Miami from week 1 than it is now.
It is a different New England team. It is a different New England team. However, the Dolphins are built to beat New England. From a physical standpoint, the Dolphins struggle against teams that they cannot overpower, and Baltimore is a team they cannot overpower.
Well, it's the biggest game of the season so far. We've talked about that a few different times. There was the home game against the Bills, the home games against the Chargers, and now we are here.
You know what? Dolphin fans have always asked me, is this a must-win game? I get that every week. Mm-hmm. Is this a must-win game? And I always say, there is no such thing as a must-win game before December.
Right.
Okay, we're finally in December. Last week, in my opinion, was not a must-win game.
I totally agree.
Dolphin fans, you can rebound from a loss to the Jets the rest of the way and possibly still make the playoffs, possibly still get to 9 wins. If you want to make the playoffs, that's if you want to make the playoffs, this is a must-win game against Baltimore. You have to win this game to get to 10, which is what it's going to take to get to the playoffs. If you don't, then you're a 9-win team.
And when we were watching the game, we see that wild card graphic. How many times are we going to see this on TV? All these teams fighting for
7
these
and 5.
Basically 2 spots.
Yes.
And it's really interesting the way this season is breaking down. On paper, it kind of looks like this has been a hard schedule with games against the AFC West, 3 good teams there, teams against the NFC North, 2 very good teams there. But you look at the games that the Dolphins have had against the teams that they're fighting for in the wild card spots. They've had 5 games against them, 2 against the Bills, and then 3 other home games, Chargers, Ravens, and Chiefs. Now, the win against the Ravens, they go 3-2 against those, 4 of those games coming at home. You can't go 2-3 in those games against the other wildcard teams and think that you are a playoff
You're
team.
going to need help if you don't beat the Ravens. You're going to need somebody else to slip up somehow, some way. The Chargers, they've probably got the toughest schedule that remains. The Chiefs have a very tough schedule, but I think they're getting in, especially if it comes between the Chiefs and the Dolphins. But the Ravens, let them win this game. You might as well bank on the fact that the Ravens are in and the Dolphins are out, just because they'll own the edge. And unless Cincinnati somehow slips up, and that's what the one thing I've always instructed Dolphin fans, you need the Bengals to win their division.
Totally agree.
You need the Bengals.
And win out, too.
Win out. Win out
win
would
the
help.
game, win against the Steelers, pick those 2 games off their big 2.
You need them to knock off the AFC North teams that they still face, and you also need them to win their division because you can't win a tiebreaker with them if they're a 10-win team. So you need the Bengals to win out, and you also need to beat Baltimore. Right. Those are the 2 things that and of course you got to take care of Minnesota and the Jets. What happens with the Patriots is what happens. Okay. Now, if we're talking about them beating the Patriots and the Ravens, then we're talking about a totally different ballgame. Well, you might be talking about AFC East champions.
Well, let's take
I'm not a dreamer, though.
I don't. No, and they'll find a way to box that up, too. All right, let's take our first question, which comes from @BurgerDeluxe1. How is Kevin Coyle going to adjust after his D-line got slashed 2 weeks in a row? All of a sudden, this team can't stop the run.
You know what, and I'm glad you put it that way, because earlier in this season, we were talking about the fact that this is a defensive line featuring grown men. You give up 202 rushing yards to Denver, a finesse team. You allow 270-plus rushing yards to the New York Jets, even though you know they're running the ball and aren't going to stop the run. I broke down the film, and I'm very uncomfortable with what I saw from the standpoint. I saw a lot of defensive linemen not staying in their gaps, a lot of defensive linemen trying to take on extra things and assignments, or trying to make that tackle, or trying to get that sack that'll produce them the stat that will get them paid. And that's not what this Dolphins defense is built on. That's not what this Dolphins defense has relied on. Do your job. Just do your job. Don't do anything extra. Do your job. Nobody cares if Dion Jordan doesn't have a sack the entire season. Right. Just when you have your series, just do your job. Nothing more, nothing less. And they're not getting that done. And I'm very disappointed. But it shows that they can do better from the standpoint. The previous 3 opponents before the last 2 weeks, they held all 3 opponents to 167 rushing yards. So they can get it done, and those are good rushing teams. The question is, can they play more disciplined assignment football? A lot of people want to blame it on the missed tackles. I'm not buying it. It's on that defensive line. They set the table for this entire team, and they've dropped the ball the last 2 weeks.
All right, let's take our next question. It comes from Tommy Ehrlich. What do you feel is the biggest area Ryan Tannehill has progressed in? Well, good. I mean, how many minutes did we make it? And we're already at our first Ryan Tannehill question.
Listen, he is what this season's all about.
Yeah.
I mean, other than whether Joe Philbin's going to keep his job or not. And if you get to 9 wins, I'm pretty certain Joe Philbin's going to keep his job. Ryan Tannehill's biggest area of improvement is his completion percentage has drastically improved. He's now at, I believe, 66%. He's at 66.5%. The last 5 weeks, he's like tied for 3rd in NFL history in terms of he's had 5 straight 70-plus percent completion. I mean, that's very impressive. And certainly, the Dolphins are playing in a 20-yard box. They brought it down. They've simplified the offense. They're giving him shorter targets, shorter range, less time in the pocket by 3-step, 5-step drop, get the ball out your hand. And yes, it's not ideal for a quarterback, but it's playing him to his strengths. It's getting the job done, and it's helped him improve his accuracy. I'm really impressed with the way that he's been playing lately. He's got a 92 quarterback rating. I would have never thought that would be possible for Ryan Tannehill. I'd like to see him continue to get better in terms of be more aggressive as a quarterback, throw more deep passes, throw more passes in stride, allowing a receiver or tight end to catch it in stride and give you yards after catch. But right now, he's getting the job done. He's not the problem for the Miami Dolphins.
Certainly not. Now, I've wondered this question, too. Lots of Dolphins fans send you tweets about how they like their quarterback.
Oh, they love him. The patience brigade are you talking about?
Well, that's my question, is do you feel like these Dolphin fans that are so pro Ryan Tannehill are pro Tannehill for what he is now, or pro Tannehill for what they believe he is going to become?
They are just pro Tannehill because they've waited so long. And I mean, think about how long Dan Marino's retired, and you've suffered through Jay Fiedler, Jay Feely, you suffered through Ray Lucas, you suffered through John Beck, you suffered through Chant Henne. I mean, and they're seeing this guy, young, promised talent, and they're thinking, he's the answer. Calm down a little bit. He's Alex Smith. If you think Alex Smith is the answer for Kansas City, then I say, okay, great. He's the answer. Right now, what you need is just an efficient, competent, consistent quarterback who doesn't turn the ball over, and he's delivering on that. Now, the question is, can he deliver fourth quarter victories when your team needs them? And I'm not necessarily certain that that's the case. He's done it so far. Fourth quarter against the Jets, he rallied his team back. He had a fourth quarter lead against Denver. He rallied his team back against the Lions. He rallied his team back against Green Bay. Question is, can they play well enough right now to allow him to thrive? And I'm not necessarily sure. If you're going to ask me what's holding this team back, Ryan Tannehill isn't going to be very high on this list.
No, okay. Well, Robert Drackett13 wants to know, are you surprised about Jawan James' solid play at left? I don't think he's getting enough credit.
I'm not surprised. I think the Dolphins have even said, even before he had to move to left tackle, that they thought the future for him was probably at left tackle at some point. He's got great footwork. He's got good toughness. He's good at pass setting. I think you started to see him really blossom at right tackle in the second half of the basically in the second half of the season before he had to move to left. You saw a little bit of a struggle in a transition at left tackle, and right now you're seeing him start to settle in. Now, Terrell Suggs is going to be no slouch, so it'll be interesting to see how he plays against Terrell Suggs, which is another premier pass rusher. But to me, the biggest issue with Jawan James is the issue that all rookies face, that rookie wall. And I saw him leaving that New York game with ice on his knees, and I started to think, these rookies, if you really think about it, and I can explain the rookie wall to you, it's about the fact that when the college season ends for a college player is this week.
Right.
Well, Jawan James has got 4 more games to play.
The 4 most important games of the year left to play.
And we're not even counting the 4 exhibition games that he's played. So rookies start to fall apart in December physically, and it'll be interesting to see what he's doing to maintain his body, keep himself to playing at his best.
And we talked about it last show. As much as Dolphins fans, and they should love Jarvis Landry, the team rookie of the year is Jawan James.
No question about it. I mean, you've gone and proven that you're a solid right tackle. You've proven that you're a solid left tackle, probably playing one of the premier positions, one of the 5 premier positions in the NFL. He's done an admirable job, and he really deserves to be praised for it.
All right, let's play your favorite game. We like to call it True or False. Spent a long time coming up with a name for this game.
We could have called it Fact or Fiction.
I guess we could. Those are the 2 options. So we've got plenty of true or false questions. We're going to keep this as quick as we possibly can. So let's get started. Number 1.
Is that a tip for me to hurry on these answers?
Oh, no. You do such a great job keeping yourself very concise.
Yeah.
Number 1, at Steve777 asks, true or false, Miami's playoff chances snapped the moment Brandon Albert's ACL did?
No, I don't think so. That's false. I thought the Dolphins are a 9-win team, whether Brandon Albert was healthy or not. It certainly hurts them to not have that leadership ability and that stabilizing presence on the offensive line. But if you really look at how they've performed, they've done just as good without him. Now, certainly, they probably would have done better with him, but they've done just as good without Brandon Albert. So I can't say. Would I love for Dallas Thomas to be playing better? Absolutely. There are 5 to 7 snaps per game where he's just a liability. Right. He is a concern. And Brandon Albert being there and Jawan James, being at right tackle wouldn't make that an issue. But it is what it is, and we're getting to see a young player develop. And, hey, you fast forward his development. All
right. True or false? At Eric Wolf 3784. True or false? Brandon Gibson could be better in this offense than Brian Hartline.
I'd have to go false. I like Brandon Gibson. I like what he brings to the table. There's a toughness there. He's a very good route runner, which is why he was a slot receiver. He's very perceptive. But, Brian Hartline, there's a reason you're a 2-time 1,000-yard receiver, reason why they call you the Blankie, your most reliable receiver in Dolphins history, the guy that Ryan Tannehill just gravitated to. The offense isn't catered to him anymore. Right. They don't throw sideline passes. They don't throw comebacks anymore. They don't throw the routes that Brian Hartline runs, which is why I wouldn't be surprised if he's not here next year. But he's still a very promising, productive NFL receiver.
And right now,
just not built for this offense.
And right now, the offense is about getting the ball to Lamar Miller and Jarvis Landry.
And Mike Wallace. Pretty
to
much,
a point.
yeah. And I can't disagree. And the tight end, Dion Sims, Charles Clay. I can't disagree. Brian Hartline has spent most of this year as a fourth option on this team.
We would be remiss if we didn't mention Dion Sims. He has really come along as a pass-catching tight end.
He is. I said this earlier today on Twitter, and if I like Charles Clay, I love Charles Clay. That's my dog. One-legged Charles Clay is good enough. He gets the job done. But Dion Sims is an NFL starting tight end right now. And the way he's blocking, the way he's catching passes, this guy's one of those former basketball players who's gravitated to football. You're really starting to see him blossom as a tight end, and I hope that they continue to use him that way.
All right, at Jimmy Wayne 1, true or false, Finns get win over Bengals in first round because the Finns are built to beat them.
Absolutely true. And if you look at the history of this matchup, the Dolphins haven't struggled with the Bengals. I couldn't even tell you the last time.
Right.
They're just certain teams in the NFL, matchup-wise, you just have an edge over. And you, not just a mental edge, a physical edge. The Bengals happen to be one. If the Dolphins had done what they were supposed to do last year and gotten that final playoff spot instead of the Chargers, there's no doubt in my mind that the Dolphins would have went up to Cincinnati and beaten them. They are just built to beat the Bengals. However, on the flip side, there are certain teams that are built to beat you, like Minnesota, like Baltimore. Baltimore, when's the last time you beat Baltimore? Has to be 2007. That great Camarillo touchdown that saved your season, made you 1-15. That's it. I mean, the Baltimore Ravens have beaten you twice in 2008, once in 2009, once in 2010, once in 2013. Like, they own you.
But with all that being said, I don't think there's one team that's scared about going into Cincinnati in the playoffs and trying to beat Andy Dalton. Not one. At Gerardo wants to know, true or false, Tannehill has proven to be a franchise-caliber quarterback. It's that time of the show where we answer that question.
I would give my label for franchise quarterback is you have to be a top 12 quarterback in the NFL.
Yes.
Ryan Tannehill, while he might at times be a top 12 quarterback in the NFL, you're pretending if you think he's a franchise quarterback.
Has he proven it? The answer is false.
Yeah.
The answer is false. I agree.
Now, if he's consistent the rest of the season and gets his team to the playoffs, allows his team to score 24 points, has a 90-plus quarterback rating, then I'll say, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. He's a franchise quarterback. Then I'll say, all right, go ahead. Opt into his fifth-year option for $15 million in 2012. But franchise quarterback, not even close.
Well, it's closer than not even close, but
it's debatable. Before it wasn't debatable.
Okay, yes. He has gotten to the point
we can have that discussion.
Where we can talk
Before
about
I would have laughed in your face. We can have that discussion right now. Would I take, Andy Dalton is not a franchise quarterback. Right. Alex Smith is not a franchise quarterback. Now, are they in those discussions? Yeah. Sure. Would I take Ryan Tannehill over those two quarterbacks? I'll debate it. I'll have a discussion.
Right.
Would I take him over them? I don't know. I really don't know.
No, I don't.
You have to lead your team to the playoffs.
Yeah, there's at least 12 quarterbacks
the difference
that
I can tell
Ryan Tannehill right now.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's 12 I got too. The difference with franchise quarterbacks is they make the players around them better. That's my opinion. My humble opinion about franchise quarterbacks. Franchise quarterbacks make the players around them better. I can't tell you a player that Ryan Tannehill is making better.
Well, and a franchise quarterback is also the guy where you say, we are going where you take us. We, as a team, we are going where you are leading us to. And right now, Ryan Tannehill.
We don't know where he's leading us.
We don't know where he's leading us, and he's just a piece. He's a piece of the puzzle.
Absolutely.
So far, a good one.
I like him.
But
people don't realize this. I like him. He's smart. He's a leader. He's got moxie. He's got personality. He doesn't show it a lot. He's clutch in the fourth quarter. He's clutch at the end of games. He's got everything. He's got an arm that could throw a 15-yard out.
Yeah.
There are areas that he's got to improve on.
Right.
Pocket presence.
Yeah.
Being more aggressive with his passing game. Connecting on deep balls. Until you have two of those three, you're not a franchise quarterback.
Yeah, you talk about pocket presence. One thing that I feel like he has gotten a lot better at is throwing the ball when he's got a defender on him. When he's a couple times there's guys at his ankles, he's on his way going down, and he's made some plays that way.
You know what's funny? I love the way that he's running the ball, and he's being a lot more aggressive than he has been in the past. I believe he's averaging 4.6 yards per carry. And I've always said, for 3 years I've done the show, and I've said Ryan Tannehill needs to run more. And no, that wasn't even a discussion, a debate. He needs to run more. Now you're seeing the benefits of him running more. How often does he run evading a sack?
Yeah, he doesn't
do that.
No.
You need to get to that point where you're running to evade a sack. You feel the pressure, take off.
Right.
You feel the pressure, roll left. Try to find an open receiver, a broken play. Doesn't happen.
Doesn't happen.
That's
Just
the next
scrambling
step.
first down.
Next step.
All right, at
We're
Tinson
taking
McCartney.
baby steps with quarterbacks.
At Tinson McCartney wants to know, Dion Jordan gets a receiving touchdown before the year is over. True or false?
False. Did you see that he caught the ball that he caught 3 times against Denver? No. You know what? Dion Jordan, and I love what he does on special teams.
Yeah, really nice play he made.
I think he's probably one of the top special teams players on this team. Tremendous. I would love to see a package on defense where he's at linebacker, standing up, pass rushing, and Chris McCain are at linebacker, standing up, pass rushing. I think I will wet myself if that ever happens. Unfortunately, he's a horrible defensive end. No edge setting, no pass rushing, not always on his assignment. The 200 yards that the last 2 opponents have rushed on him, watch the plays that Dion Jordan's is in. The bulk of those 200 yards are when he's on the field. He is I won't say horrible. That's being too mean.
He's still young.
He is a disappointing defensive end.
Okay.
I would love for him to be a Sam linebacker. One day, my prayers will be answered.
Well, they could certainly need one going into next year. True or false, at Robrado7, Finn's rookie starters and reserves will impact the outcome of December games.
Yeah, I guess so.
True.
True. Jarvis Landry, you got to get with Jawan James. If Jawan James goes down, I mean, I'm more concerned about his knee, because if his knee doesn't hold up, well, you can count that line out. You don't have another backup tackle. I mean, Jason Fox, I guess, got it done, and Billy Turner played left tackle. But if Jawan James goes down, you're pretty much done. And I like what some of the young rookies, Walt Aikens, Jordan Tripp, are contributing on special teams. So, yeah, definitely, I would say that's true.
True or false, at MVP535, Ryan Tannehill will receive a huge contract extension at the end of the season. Not should he, will he? True or false?
False. If Dennis Hickey would like his easiest way to not retain his job as general manager of the Miami Dolphins, give Ryan Tannehill a $90 million contract.
All right, let's go to our next question. At Stuart Pace wants to know, the Finns will make a play for Lions defensive tackle Ndamukong Suh in the offseason.
You know what? I'm going to have to say that's false. From the standpoint, Suh is one of the highest paid players in the NFL right now. I think $22 million. He will clear a $100 million contract, whether it's with the Lions or with a new team, because the Lions are going to be stuck between a rock and a hard place. They have to either give him a raise, because he makes more than a franchise tag, a 20% raise off his $22 million, or let him hit the free agent market. I would much rather pay that money. He's a dominant player, and I would honestly say, somebody asked me earlier this week on Twitter whether he was better than J.J. Watts, and I think he has more value to his team than J.J. Watts. Yes, he doesn't score offensive touchdowns like J.J. Watts, but Ndamukong Suh has a tremendous amount of value to his team. But will the Dolphins be in play? The Dolphins are going to be paying their credit card bill in 2015. They ain't got no money.
And that's a lot of money to pour into the defensive line in particular.
I mean, you've got to deal with Mike Pouncey's contract extension. You got to deal with Charles Clay as a free agent. You got to deal with Jared Odrick as a free agent. You got to deal with Jimmy Wilson as a free agent. You got to re-sign probably some pieces on your offensive line, and you don't have no money.
At Hessam Z, let's go with true or false. We are a better offensive unit moving forward than defensive unit.
False, because you're a nickel and dime offense. And the defense, yes, they're in the abyss right now. You give up 470-something rushing yards in 2 weeks, and you're at your valley. What we do know is that the defense will get out of the valley.
All right.
They will get better, and they've got a lot of depth on that unit. Offensively, You got a lot of improvements still needed to be done. And I really think that the defense is going to have to carry this team to the playoffs. Somehow, they're going to have to be able to figure out how to finish games. Doing it against the Jets is a good start, but there's so much meat on the bone for this offense. And they have to just take it to that next level. We talk about it every week. I want to see Lamar Miller get more carries. I want to see Rashard Matthews get more involved. I want to see Dion Jordan get utilized more. I would love to see Mike Wallace running more deep routes, being more effective in the big play, passing play. I'd love to see more Brian Hartline routes being run. There's still some evolution that needs to be done with the offensive line, and hopefully we get to that point before the season's over.
All right, that's true and false. Oh, that almost hit the water. Yes.
And I have another challenge.
All right.
A challenge. So, Omar, you said that true franchise quarterback makes players better.
Of course, it's about the quarterback.
It's
always about the
quarterback. So, Aaron Roberts says, challenge Aaron Roberts.
Aaron Rodgers?
Hold on. Challenge Ryan Tannehill is making Jarvis Landry better.
Jarvis Landry is the same player he was at LSU. He's a good player. Jarvis Landry, you don't know what he was. In fact, I think Jarvis Landry could do more. Ryan Tannehill's just throwing to an open man. And actually, Jarvis Landry's making Ryan Tannehill better because he's getting yards after the catch, which no other receiver's getting. Ryan Tannehill didn't make Jarvis Landry. Jarvis Landry's kind of making Ryan Tannehill.
There you go. Okay. Outside of the one victory, Miami pulled off the Dolphins in 2000. The Dolphins pulled off over the Ravens in 2007, beating Baltimore to produce the lone victory of that season. The Fins have been punked by the Ravens most of this decade. In fact, Ryan Tannehill and the Dolphins lost a fourth quarter game to the Ravens last season. We may remember that. If you remember, there were as many Ravens.
Remember Tyson Clabo? We have a moment of silence for Tyson Clabo.
Okay. There were as many Ravens fans at the Dolphins Stadium as there were Dolphins fans, surprisingly. What is it about the Ravens that presents such a tough challenge for Miami?
Physicality.
Totally.
Line of scrimmage. Ball watchers don't understand this, but the game of football is not won by the quarterback. It's won in the trenches, at the line of scrimmage. It's won with the defensive linemen attacking the offensive line. It's won with the offensive line creating a surge for the running game or protecting the quarterback. And Baltimore has punked the Dolphins at the line of scrimmage every single year I've ever covered this team, including the one victory in 2007, where basically they just gift-wrapped the lone victory of the season, not kicking an extra point in overtime, in extra point in the regulation. It is a very, very tough matchup. And looking at the film, I would say that this is the toughest matchup the Dolphins have faced this season. Not New England, not Green Bay, not Denver.
Not Buffalo?
Not Buffalo, because Baltimore can do things offensively.
Right. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Buffalo, what do they have offensively?
Nothing.
They've got nothing. Joe Flacco is an aggressive quarterback. Everybody knows I love me some Joe Flacco. I'm a Joe Flacco fan, and he's got a passer rating that's comparable to Ryan Tannehill, throwing 20 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, decent passer rating, completion percentage. But you know what the difference between Ryan Tannehill and Joe Flacco, who have comparable numbers, is?
Flacco can make the big play happen.
Flacco throws big. He plays big.
Yeah.
He's got some big cojones. He goes for it.
Yeah.
Whereas Ryan Tannehill, give Joe Flacco Mike Wallace, which might very well happen next year. Give Joe Flacco Mike Wallace, and you might see a dynamic receiver.
And that's what Torrey Smith is. Torrey Smith is a younger, slightly taller,
absolutely,
slightly slower, but not by a lot, Mike Wallace.
Put Torrey Smith, Mike Wallace, and Steve Smith in the slot. Woo! Baltimore Ravens are going to be something special. Listen, but it's the physicality. It's the physicality at the line of scrimmage. Baltimore has an effective rushing attack. They've got a dynamic pass rushing attack. They've got an offensive line that is ridiculous. I think this is the best offensive line that the Dolphins have faced. And this will be one of those games where the Dolphins are going to have to put their hard hat on.
And right, because they smack people in the mouth,
absolutely,
unlike any other team in the NFL. However, with all that being said, the Chargers, which we remember the Dolphins handling quite easily, beat this Ravens team in Baltimore on Sunday.
See, but that's different.
Okay, tell me why.
That comparison is a little bit uncomfortable. I watched every second of that game. The Baltimore Ravens' weakness is their secondary,
Okay.
their cornerbacks, their inexperienced safeties. If you can throw big, like San Diego can do, and you saw a lot of big passes from Phillip Rivers in that game, if you can throw big, you can exploit their weakness. Can the Dolphins throw big?
I don't know. That's the question. That is.
No, it's not the question.
Well,
when have you seen it?
Well, no, we haven't seen it.
We haven't seen it. It's not going to happen. If you're expecting to throw big to beat the Baltimore Ravens, you're making a mistake. You're pretending that you can throw big because you've dialed it down for a reason, and that's because you can't throw big.
Well, the Ravens seem to have gotten past the loss of Ray Rice pretty easily, considering Justin Forsett is over 1,000 yards rushing and 7 touchdowns. Is Baltimore's running game Miami's biggest challenge, or is it that Flacco big arm?
I would think this game is going to come down to the fourth quarter, and the Flacco big arm concerns me a lot more than Baltimore's running game. I have confidence in this Dolphins defensive line, and yes, they've sucked for the last 2 weeks, but they've figured out what's going on. The biggest issue with me is they're waiting till the second half to make these adjustments.
Right.
And there's something going on from the coaching standpoint with the offense and the defense why the adjustments are being made in the second half and not in the second quarter. And you got to figure it out. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that these coaches are on the field as opposed to in the booth. These coordinators are on the field as opposed to in the booth. Dolphins need to really assess that and evaluate it, because there's no reason why you should be a drastically better team in the third quarter than you are in the first half. Dolphins are the top scoring third quarter team in the entire NFL, and that's because the coaches get around and start to make adjustments. Well,
Which is not a terrible thing.
It's a great thing, considering it's one of the main criticisms we had of Joe Philbin last year.
Right.
So that's fixed.
But the issue is, why are they such a bad first half team?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. They're very bad first half.
Yeah.
And offensively and defensively, you got to get that fixed. But I believe that this is going to be a fourth quarter game.
Right.
And it's going to be Ryan Tannehill against Joe Flacco. Who you taking?
Well, all that being said, it's as not as large of a gap as we would have thought 2 months ago.
I don't know if I would have said that. I still won't say that the Ravens are a better team than the Dolphins. I will say that the Ravens are a horrible matchup for the Dolphins. But better team? No, not. I'm not interested or willing to say that. Now, if the Dolphins get some key players back, Cortland Finnegan, Jamar Taylor, I like their chances. But matchup-wise, they're a horrible team.
At In the Woods wants to know, is there any update on those two guys, Finnegan and Taylor? Are they coming back? What was funny watching the broadcast was John Gruden was sitting there just for almost the entire second half saying, why is Geno Smith not even trying to throw at R.J. Stanford? Why? I mean, what? You've got Eric Decker out there. You paid him all that money. He's going one-on-one on a guy who didn't have a job 7 days ago. Why aren't they doing that? You know Joe Flacco is going to attack R.J. Stanford.
Oh, yeah. R.J. Stanford might as well
if he's out there.
Well, you think he's going to be out there.
Okay.
If Jamar Taylor doesn't practice, I've watched Cortland Finnegan work. He's not healthy. He's not there yet. I would say he probably sits another week. Maybe you see him back for the Patriots game. Jamar Taylor is the one you got to hope that comes back and is healthy enough. He had a shoulder that popped out and got separated, but it popped back in. The question is, can he jam? Can he push off? Can he jam? Can he tackle? You don't like that?
No, I don't. See, I don't like that. See, that's what it is. Receivers don't like that. I don't like that. Now I know why.
If he can, I think he'll play. He's got to be cleared by the medical team. They were gonna hold him out for 1 week. We'll see if he practices today.
I want to give you one more true and false.
Okay.
True or false, John Harbaugh is a top 5 NFL coach?
True. Without a doubt.
I think so too.
Yeah,
I think so too.
Question.
I think he's underrated.
He's by far. He's already won a Super Bowl championship.
Yeah.
He's by far. I mean, this is a special teams coordinator that goes on to become a head coach. And I can tell you, I've had some interactions with John Harbaugh that are sensational in terms of he oozes leadership. And the one thing I like about guys like John Harbaugh is they are alpha males. And I've really learned this season just dealing and interacting with numerous coaches. I like an alpha male coach. I like a guy who has I'm the biggest gorilla in the room mentality, and that's John Harbaugh. And those kind of coaches, they want alpha males on their team, unlike some coaches, no names, Joe Philbin, who are uncomfortable with alpha males
Right.
and who don't have an alpha male personality. Give me the alpha male coach, and John Harbaugh is one.
Well, we do. You know, you throw he's a Super Bowl winning coach, which he is, but there are guys like I'd take him over Pete Carroll. I think right now I'd take him over Mike Tomlin. I think I'd take him over other guys who've come close. I'd take him over his brother with that disaster that's happening in San Francisco
come
right
on.
now.
No,
Sorry.
no.
That's a disaster
That's where
right
I'm
now.
uncomfortable, because I think that there's a separate category for quarterback whisperers of coaches. And the quarterback whisperers, which Jim Harbaugh fits into that category, of the guys who can instantly make the quarterbacks that they're working with better, raise their quarterback rating 10%.
Right.
I mean, and that's Jim Harbaugh. John Harbaugh has had the benefit of growing with Joe Flacco, and I love that. I love Joe Flacco, as everybody knows. I love me some Joe Flacco.
All right.
However,
It's getting awkward, by the way.
I mean, hey, you got to understand, when you're my quarterback, you're my quarterback.
Okay.
And but I don't think that John Harbaugh made Joe Flacco.
Okay.
Look at how many offensive coordinators he's had.
Okay.
He's on his third.
So, how you're talking about quarterback whisperers? Mm-hmm. How much of Ryan Tannehill's improvement are you putting on Bill Lazor?
Probably about 50%.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that the offense has changed drastically from what I saw in training camp.
Yeah. Because
you had to, hey, this is what my quarterback can do. I got to alter it, sew it up, change it up, move it around, flip it, rub it down. That's Bill Lazor. That's not Ryan Tannehill. That's Bill Lazor.
Okay, let's see. Quick. What do we call these again?
Rapid fires.
I always forget what we call these things. All right, true or false? This is the week we see Tannehill unleash the deep ball at Neptune.
Whatever.
It'd be nice. It'd be nice, right?
But they ask that every week, and I have the same answer.
All right.
Did you see how bad that one deep ball he threw was? And I got to admit, the wind in that little corner of the stadium was pretty bad, but it wasn't even close.
You know, I think when other fans of other NFL teams
and the
are
sad
watching,
thing is, when you're watching the game, when you're at the stadium and you're watching the game and you watch it live and you have the aerial view and you see how wide friggin' open Mike Wallace is all the time, you're like, holy crap. Like, I don't know how Mike Wallace can get that open.
On that, he was rolling out, he's throwing off his back foot.
That was a designed play, though.
Okay, well, it was bad.
I'm like Mike Wallace can ridiculously get open.
It's funny. I think when that's like the play of the game when most NFL fans are watching, going, oh, and then I think Dolphins fans are going, no.
One this year, folks. One this year. And I don't know if we'll get a second one, to be honest with you.
This is kind of it right here. I feel like this is it.
This is
win
it.
And they're in, lose and they're out.
Absolutely.
That is how I feel about this game. So, prediction time. Omar, do the Dolphins win?
I don't see it. I just can't. I know maybe my love affair. Baltimore has more man crush players for me than any other team in the NFL. Their GM,
quite literally with Haloti Nada. He would crush you.
Their GM just has a way of picking the players that I like. They have that mentality. They've got the dog. They're a team full of alpha males. And I think that that's probably going to be the biggest issue for the Dolphins. I am going to predict a 24-17 Ravens victory.
All right. I want this run to continue. I think this
You
team
do.
is improved.
You're
I
selfish.
think so. I'm
It's just for your
taking
TV
the Fins.
purposes.
27-20.
27-20, you believe.
And you know what?
What's
long ball. We're going to see a long ball in this game against those bad Ravens cornerbacks.
I laugh in your face.
They're going to try a few. They're going to try a
Try a
couple.
few, okay.
And one will hit. One pass of
This
over
might
25
be the worst secondary
yards.
that they've faced in a while.
All right. Well, we'll see. That's it for X's and Omar. We're here live every Wednesday at 12:15, breaking down your Fins. You can find the replay of the show on sunsentinel.com. If you're looking for more Dolphins news, you can find Omar Kelly's First and 10 with Dolphins offensive lineman Mike Pouncey on sunsentinel.com's sports pages. Thanks for coming. We'll see you next week.
Deep ball.